Today is June 14th, 2020. My name is Hanokaee and I'm 16 years old. For those of you who have seen my previous video, then you'll know for the past 3 months or so I've been researching and studying this topic that's very relevant to today. It's basically the idea of creating positivity in times of negativity. And I wanted to introduce a new topic which is very related to the topic I talked about in the previous video, which is basically it's a whole other way of perceiving life, a whole other perspective that humanity could have on their everyday living, which is basically thinking about life as a game. The game of life. Think of it all as a game, because it really is a game if you think about it. There's a main character, you. There's an opponent, which is the negative force that makes you want to do bad and what makes you want to choose wrong in a negative situation. And there's missions and tasks that you need to complete and tests. And then there's also an end goal to the game. So we're going to go in depth really quick and talk a little bit about each of these 4 components of the game of life. First, starting with the protagonist. You are the protagonist. He is the protagonist. She is the protagonist. Everyone is their own protagonist. I am my own protagonist in my game of life, the same way you are your own protagonist in your game of life. This applies to all 7.8 billion people in the world. We all have our own game. We're all our own protagonists. And we are being rooted for to succeed in this game of life. Succeed what though? So I have to go ahead and tell you guys what the opponent is. The opponent is, like I said, the negative force that drives you to do bad. The one that makes you want to choose wrong from right in negative situations. If you watched the previous video, then you remember that example about 2 people on the sidewalk colliding with each other. Their shoulders bump with each other. Person A yells at person B, remember? Person A has already failed the test, by the way, because he already engaged in negativity. He just yelled at person B. He already failed the test. The opponent has already taken him over. We're focusing on person B right now. We're focusing on you. So you are in that situation. Person A yells at you. How will you react to that situation? So think about the situation, the negative situation, as a test, as a mission, as a task that the game has thrown at you, that the system of the game has thrown at you. They're trying to test you. We're going to see, will you succeed or will you fail? The opponent of the game is the negative force that causes you to yell back at person A, the negative force that causes you to cuss at him, maybe even punch him out of anger, out of negativity. That's called failing the test or the task that the game has thrown at you, and it's also known as going one step backwards in the game of life. It's basically losing that specific test. You're not losing the game. You're losing that simple task in the game of life. So therefore, you go one step backwards. But if you succeed, and if you're successful in avoiding the negativity, you actually succeed the test and you go one step forward. You're advancing. It's like you got points. Think about it as like a point system. There really is no point system in life. But just think about it like that and everything becomes so much easier and it actually becomes fun. And whenever a negative situation happens in front of you, instead of thinking about yourself as being involved in the negative situation, think of it as a movie as well. Think it's like a movie. The person is yelling at you. Watch the negative force take him over or her over, whoever the person is that's engaging in the negative situation, and make sure that you know that you are better than that. You are not going to engage in that negativity. Instead, you're going to overcome it, you're going to go above it, and you're going to engage in positivity, therefore succeeding the test and passing the test. And actually, every person and every component and everything in the game of your life, in your game of life, is rooting for you to win. And secretly, very, very secretly, the negative force is also rooting for you to win. It doesn't seem like that, because the negative force just wants you to lose and go backwards. No, the negative force is testing you. The negative force of the game of life is throwing a test at you, seeing how will you respond. Will you proact, which is succeeding, or will you react, which is receding? I don't know if that's the right word, going backwards in the game of life. And so the point of the game of life, the overall end goal, which is the other component of the game, is reaching an overall consciousness where you're able to know that everything happens for a reason, and just because you fail the test doesn't mean the game is over, and just because you pass the test doesn't mean you win the game. These are 3 things that you need to remember. Every test that life will throw at you happens for a reason. You guys know the good voice and the bad voice? Well, basically, every person has a good voice and a bad voice that's in a constant battle from the moment they mature till the day they die. The game isn't over until you die. The game doesn't start until you're mature enough to understand the game. And usually for men, it starts at 13 years old, and for women, it starts at 12 years old where you're able, where you start the game of life, where the tests actually start getting thrown at you and they start counting as points. So everything that you do bad, it actually gets you forward, backwards. Everything that you do that's positive actually moves you forward. So this is something everyone goes through, and they're always at a constant battle, the negative and positive forces, until the day you die. So there's no way of escaping it. Suicide is not an option here. That's just automatically being eliminated, literally. So you are the protagonist of the game. The negative force is the opponent of the game. The tests and tasks are the negative situations that life throws at you. And the overall point of the game is to reach an overall consciousness that everything happens for a reason. All the negative situations that life throws at you are there for a reason. Also, just because you fail one test doesn't mean you lose the game. It's an opportunity for you to grow and learn so that you can pass the next test. And also, just because you pass the test doesn't mean you're the king of the world or the queen of the world. What it does mean is that you're growing, and it shows proof that you're growing. So that pretty much sums up today's video, and thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you guys learned anything at all from this video, make sure that you send it to someone who you think could benefit from it. They don't have to be going through the negative situation right now, but those are pretty much the people who need it the most. But we can all use some positivity in our life right now, and this wisdom, I think, is necessary for everyone to learn right now. It makes the game of life so much easier, and in a way, it actually makes it fun because you want to actively pass the test and win in this game of life. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next video.